thing that we're going to do now is we're going to make some quick duplicates of our images. We have this lighthouse and we also have this lighthouse. So let's start with light1.tiff, okay? And I'm going to go to image and I'm going to choose duplicate. Now why are we going to duplicate? Because we never, ever, never, ever work with the original. Ask yourself, am I ever going to work with the original? The answer is no, never. Okay, the reason is we want to always be able to go back to the original if something happens, and we must get back to what we started with. Okay, so we're going to change this and we're going to call it fix light 1. And we'll say okay to that. And you see now we've got 3 files. Okay, we're going to duplicate again. We're going to go click on the tab for light 2. Going to go to image, going to go to duplicate, and we're going to call that fix light 2. There we go. Okay. Now that I know my originals are absolutely safe, I am going to go ahead and close them, okay, just by clicking on the little X. Alright, so here we have our duplicates, okay, and again I'm going to do Control-0 to make them both nice and big. Okay, let's go back to fix light 1, and you can see that it's a little washed out. Alright, when we do graphics, we need to have a really good image before we go to print. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to image and we can go to autotone, for example. Okay, and immediately you can see that that image is much better. Okay, we can do Control-Z to toggle back and forth. We hit Control-Z a number of times and we can see that this is the original, this is the modification. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the edit menu, okay, and I'm going to undo that. Note that that's different than toggling. Okay, in Photoshop, Control-Z toggles back and forth between what you did and what you started with. Okay, you can redo it. Okay, and you can also undo what you just did. All right, let's stick with undo for now. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go to image, adjustments, and you can see there's a tremendous number of different controls for your photo. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on brightness and contrast. Okay, now these are things that are really very common in photos. Okay, and especially as you get them ready for press, keep in mind that when you get something and you're going to print it, you're going to print an image, the quality is never going to be as good as the original photo. So making these kinds of image tweaks are like gold. They're fantastic when you're going to go in with the very best image possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose auto. Okay, and that's going to take a moment to process, and there's our image. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll say okay to that. All right, and now we're going to go again. Okay, and we're going to choose the brightness and contrast. Okay, and if we wanted to, we could make further edits. So for example, let's take the brightness down. You can see that might be something kind of late in the day, or we could bump it all the way up and it would look much more like bright morning. Okay, first thing in the morning on a coast. Okay, I'm going to say cancel to that. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is I'd like to use the shadows and highlights command. Okay, so I'm going to go to image, and let's go back to our low contrast image. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to undo the brightness and contrast. Okay, and because we want to start again with the other image so you can see what the different effects do. Okay, and we're going to go to image, adjustments, and we're going to go to shadows and highlights. Okay. Okay, so here we have a real interesting range of controls. Okay, so we could see a lot of different things, and if you don't have show more options checked, go ahead and check them. Okay, so you can see that when you don't have them, all you really have are shadows and highlights, but there's a lot of other controls. Okay, so you also want to have the preview checkbox so that you can see what kind of changes you might want to, or that you might be making. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's make sure that the preview box is checked. Okay, and let's go with 40% in the shadows. Okay, so we're going to increase that just a little bit. Okay, and what that's going to do is that's going to make the shadow areas better. See the area down here that has the brush? You can see that by changing to about 40, that's changing the detail in that area. Okay, and let's go ahead and change the highlights to 15%. Okay. Okay, and you can see as I do that, it is changing. Okay, so let's go with 15, and you can type it in or you can use the sliders. Okay, and now we have a pretty nice image. We've got blue sky, a nice bright graphic, green grass, and so forth. Okay, so now what we're going to do is let's go ahead and close that, and let's go, let's hit Control Z on that so that we can keep those changes. Okay, and let's go to our other lighthouse image, which is Fixed Light 2. Okay, and you can see this one, it seems purplish in some places, and the reason for that is that it has too much, too much of perhaps magenta in the image. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to image, and we're going to go to auto color. Okay, and it does a little bit of quick processing, and you can see that it has a really nice look now. Okay, and we can also go to color balance. All right, so we'll go to images, image, adjustments, color balance. Okay, and we can change the different values. Now, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, also known as CMYK, is one color model, and that's used for printing. RGB, which is red, green, blue, is used for online uses, such as websites and so forth. Okay, so in this instance, why don't we, we'll just keep the cyan and magenta about where they are because they seem right. Okay, and let's take the yellow up. Okay, but not too much. Okay, if we do too much, we can see it, the image becomes almost green because we're adding yellow and blue together. Okay, which make green. Okay, we'll just go like that, and a good idea is to always be a little bit careful. Go easy on your changes. Okay, and if you get a little bit too crazy and you make an image that you just don't like, remember, you always have that original that you can go back to, and that's why we don't modify original images. Okay, so we'll say okay to that. Okay. Now what we'd like to do is we'd like to save these files. Okay, so I'm going to go to Fixed Light 1 and I'm going to save this as a TIFF image. Okay, I'm going to go to Save As, and you might ask, why are we going to use a TIFF image? Well, TIFF images are used and accepted in all kinds of different graphic software programs. Okay, so you can use it here, you can use it in InDesign, in all kinds of different places, and they maintain their quality. Okay, we don't want to choose compression, for example, because we want this image to retain as much of its capability, as much of its quality as originally possible. What that also means, however, is that in terms of file size, these can be pretty large. Okay, and so keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and choose Save for that. Okay, and do we want compression on this? No, we just don't. Okay, so we're not going to have any image compression. Okay, and that way we are sure that we have the highest quality image as we perhaps send it to somebody, send it to a printer, or we include it in with a page layout. Okay, we're going to take Fixed Light 2, and let's do that again. We'll save that as a TIFF image. Okay, we'll say Save to that. Okay, we don't want compression, that's good. We'll say OK. Alright, now another thing that we can do is we can save these images as Photoshop images, okay, meaning PSD files. Alright, and what that is a Photoshop native file. They transfer very nicely between different Adobe products, and it's the sort of thing that that as you have that file, you can then go back to that file type. It is going to maintain a lot of the information, if you will, that goes along with the file. Okay, so we'll choose that, and now we will choose the Fixed Light 2 file, and we will save that as a PSD file. Okay, again, scrolling up, choosing Photoshop, PSD, and choosing Save. Okay, so go ahead and think about grabbing an image and playing with it, and take an image that you think is just not very good and see what kind of controls you can use in the image menu, using adjustments and changing all kinds of different things. And so, for example, one that used to be very, very popular in the 80s was posterize. Okay, and this is an example of a posterized graphic. Okay, this was really popular, and back in the day there was no easy way to do this. We didn't have Photoshop in the early 80s, and this all had to be done by hand. But that's a story for another day, but it gives you a kind of a cool effect. Okay, so thanks for listening. Bye.